So what I'm going to talk about now is the new template for community nurses to enter when seeing patients approaching and at the end of life in the community. This is a template that is available in the clinical tree within your SystmOne record that I'm going to show in just a moment. It serves a number of functions. Firstly, it is a structured clinical record for documenting the care that you provide as community nurses or we provide as GPs. There's a slightly different version for GPs. Secondly, it serves as an aid memoir, as a prompt of things to consider. Have we thought about DNA CPR? Have we thought about just-in-case medication? It is also a resource. So as I'll demonstrate, there are a number of blue buttons on the template. If you click on those, that gives you access to resources such as the community end-of-life prescription chart or a leaflet to potentially give to carers when their loved one is dying. And crucially, the other aspect of this is that the data that you enter is then, with patient consent, shared across the healthcare system. It's merged with the GP's data, and then that is available in something called the summary view that I will show in a moment, that is seen by 111, out of hours, ambulance trust and acute trusts as a summary of where the patient and their family are in terms of their illness, their understanding of their illness and their preferences. This is all ultimately designed to improve the care that we give to our patients and make sure that information is available 24/7 across the healthcare system. Now let me talk you through the template itself. So on the clinical tree in SystmOne for the patient who you have just seen, you will see for all community nurses working in CPFT 2 red stars. The top one is the one that I'm going to focus on mainly, which gives you access, if you click on it, to the template for end-of-life care, which is how you enter information. The one below is for access to the summary view, which tells you what has already been recorded for the patient, and it's that information in the view that 111, out of hours, ambulance trust and accident and emergency will see. So the really important thing is putting data in through the template, and I'm just going to talk us briefly now through information entering for the template. Now this is a dummy patient, so don't worry about confidentiality issues. You'll obviously be doing this in a real patient. So the template for data entry is brief. It takes a maximum of a couple of minutes to enter the key information, which will then, with patient consent, be immediately shared across the system. So if you'd start, please, by thinking, is this patient on the practice register for end-of-life care? And if you click on that box there, I'm ticking yes, they are, but you'll see on the right-hand side here that they've already been entered on the practice register back in March, so there's no need to re-enter that. So are they GSF red, amber or green? Now let's say you've just been to see the patient and they're getting really very close. So you want to record that they are GSF red. Now in this case it's a dummy patient. Actually they were GSF red back in March as well, which obviously would be unusual, but it's useful, really useful to have that information, so I'm going to leave that. Where are they in terms of their CPR status? Now this doesn't force patients into having a conversation, but you do need to tell the ambulance crew, are they for attempted CPR or are they not for attempted CPR? And it's two options you've got there. Now you can see back in March, someone, could be the GP, could be the Macmillan nurse, has already said that they are not for attempted CPR. So I'm just going to confirm that they're still not for attempted CPR. How about awareness of prognosis? Back in March, the patient knew what was going on. They still do, so they're still aware of prognosis. Their preferred place of care in March, at the beginning and middle of March, was home. You visited them today and it's changed. They would like to go into a hospice, please. So you click that. That's their preference. Their preferred place of death used to be home, and then it became hospice, and it is still hospice. But what about the family and informal carer? Do they know what is going on in terms of prognosis? Yes, previously they did. Now, yes, they are still aware. So that's the background information, largely clicking on boxes and drop-down menus. These three boxes here with the white space are for you to write summary, maybe just a brief sentence, but no more than that. Now, these top two boxes are designed to be background summary information. This bottom one here, patient contact administration, is for you to record the more routine aspects of your visit today. So, visited patient, reloaded the syringe driver, flushed the catheter. That sort of information can go in there. What's important here, the coordinated support plan, is the current problems. So I've already entered living at home with daughter, calls in daily, does his shopping, and he's independent and mobile around the house, minimal symptoms only. So that's some background information about the current situation. And then so you might like to write something in there, but generally suggest that you don't, because if you do, as we've done here, so early March, if he deteriorates, he said he's happy to go into a care home. On the 17th of March, less well, more confused, hospice have a bed for admission tomorrow. So when I recently saw this patient, things had changed very much. Firstly, it was a care home, now it's a hospice. And now, by entering that information on the more recent times, what is seen by 111 and out of hours is only what is most recently entered. So when 111 are called tonight about this patient, they won't see this information here. They will only see that the hospice have a bed, which is why if you put in this box now, change the catheter, then all this information will be lost, because in these boxes, it's only the most recent information that is shared across the system. Though if 111 out of hours like to look in the patient record, they can obviously access everything. So generally, keep these two for the background plan and keep this for the more documenting of care. Now, there are three blue buttons here that give you ready access to supporting information. This one here gives you access to a leaflet which you might like to print off and give to the patient, which is information about data sharing in general and about the issues of consent involved. This one here, this you will be familiar with as the community syringe driver and just in case prescription chart. It's 4 pages as the yellow chart. It doesn't have to be in cardboard. It doesn't have to be yellow. This has been agreed with CPFT. It can be printed off. As you see, the date and the time and the page numbers are there to keep a document of which version you have. Prescribing advice. Second page is the as required or breakthrough or just in case medication. And then the page that you'll be familiar with, and the next page as well, for the syringe driver prescriptions, if appropriate. Print it off, ask the prescriber to fill it in, and then leave it in the patient's home, exactly as you will be familiar with. And then the final blue button here gives you access to the CCG's one-page document that is really an information document for family members about as people get very close to the end of life, eating and drinking, medication, sleepiness, breathing changes, and what to do when their loved one has died. Give it to the relative if you think it's appropriate. It's your decision, obviously. And the other box here that is really important, and please don't overlook it, is to record whether or not just in case meds have been prescribed. And by clicking on that now, you'll see that was indicated a little while ago. 90% of the data entry is on this first tab. The second one is really very brief. It's got 2 key things in it. First is the referral forms to the hospices and the specialist palliative care teams. So here you go. You want to refer your patient to the Thorpe Hall palliative care team. Here is the form that you'll be familiar with if you work in that area, just to be filled in and sent off to them. And the second is information about the relationships. And here all I've got is information about this patient's dummy patient's dummy next of kin, with some information in terms of how to telephone them and those relationships. And you can add other carers, Macmillan nurse, district nurse, community matron and other people if you want. And that is the template. It is short, it is simple, and we would really encourage our community nursing colleagues to fill it in, because you are often seeing the patient much more frequently than anybody else. And so you can ensure that really up-to-date information is there. And then just very briefly, I'm going to show you now the summary view, which is the second red star that you have on your clinical tree. But if you click on that, so this is what 111 and out of hours, an ambulance trust would see concerning this dummy patient. So a summary of their main illness, and here you go, their current problems, anticipated problems, resuscitation status, GSF status, gold standard framework, preferred place of death, etc. So this is the summary that will be seen by the out of hours teams and the acute teams. So you can see the data you put into the template has now appeared in the summary view.